children.
Gunfire from Israeli forces as tens of thousands of hungry Palestinians crouch and wait, desperate for food. Despite the dangers, they continue to risk their lives to feed their hungry children. This UN aid convoy set out to deliver food to people in dire need, but say they were delayed by Israeli forces around the Morag corridor.
One of the constraints that we faced was waiting about 2.5 hours at an Israeli forces checkpoint, which by the time we were allowed to pass, we were met on the road by tens of thousands of hungry and desperate people.
Israeli forces reportedly killed several people waiting for aid trucks near the corridor located between Khan Yunis and Rafah. Palestinians gathered at Gaza's Nasser hospital to mourn loved ones killed by Israeli fire. The UN says no one should have to risk their lives to eat.
Gaza now faces a grave risk of famine. I know this is something that's been building up, but we now have 2 indicators that have exceeded the famine threshold. 1 in 3 people in Gaza are going days without food, and the malnutrition indicator has exceeded the famine threshold, with global acute malnutrition now at over 16.5%. Today, more than 320,000 young children are at risk of acute malnutrition.
On Friday, the U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and the U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, toured an aid centre north of Rafah, operated by the controversial U.S. and Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. According to the UN, nearly 1,400 starving Palestinians have been killed since May at food collection points run by the GHF. As he departed the White House, President Donald Trump, who recently acknowledged there is starvation in Gaza, said he wants more U.S. food aid to flow in.
Spoke to Steve Witkoff. We had a great meeting with a lot of people, and the primary meeting was on food. And he also had some other conversations that I'll tell you about later. But he had a meeting on getting the people fed, and that's what we want.
But on the day of Witkoff's visit, many Palestinians said less aid was distributed. This man says he came to Morag because he thought Palestinians would have easier access to aid and receive more assistance. But he says many left empty-handed. International condemnation has escalated over the humanitarian catastrophe. Israel is accused of a starvation policy, which it denies. The aid that is delivered is too dangerous to reach, and many are too weak to try.